Imagine holding a coin that once ruled the world. It looks like silver, but hidden inside, a deadly secret slowly destroyed an empire. For centuries, Rome was untouchable. Its armies conquered, its roads stretched endlessly, and its wealth seemed absolutely limitless. But something invisible was creeping through the markets. Prices climbed. Bread cost more each morning, and nobody understood why. A loaf that cost a single coin now demanded a fistful. Wages became worthless overnight. Something was terribly, silently wrong. Historians rarely speak of it. Yet this hidden crisis may have doomed Rome more than any barbarian army ever could dream of doing. How could the mightiest empire in history be defeated by its own money? What poison hid inside those glittering silver coins? In dusty archives, scholars found frantic writings. Merchants panicked. Soldiers demanded gold. The whole system was collapsing fast. Emperors tried desperate measures. Laws, threats, even executions. But the invisible enemy kept spreading through every province. This is the story they almost forgot. A financial catastrophe so vast it reshaped history, yet vanished from our memory entirely. What truly happened to Rome's money? Follow me, and together we'll uncover a mystery buried for nearly 2,000 silent years. Picture Rome at its peak, a golden empire where a single silver coin held the trust of millions across 3 vast continents. That coin was the denarius, nearly pure silver, minted for centuries. It paid the soldiers, fed the poor, and built the roads. But behind the marble columns and triumphant parades, a quiet sickness was already spreading through the empire's beating heart. The wars were endless. Every frontier demanded gold, every legion demanded pay, and Rome's treasury began to bleed slowly dry. So the emperors faced a desperate question no ruler wants to answer. How do you pay for an empire when the money runs out? Their answer was a secret, whispered in the mints, a trick so subtle that ordinary citizens would never notice it at first. Imagine a mint worker named Lucius, hands stained with metal, staring at coins that looked silver but hid a darker truth inside. He knew the recipe was changing. Less silver, more cheap copper, melted together and stamped with the emperor's proud face. Lucius wondered what would happen when people finally realized their trusted coins were nothing but a beautiful, hollow lie. He could not know it yet, but this small deception would grow into a storm that no army or emperor could ever fully control. But here's where the story twists. The emperors discovered a secret weapon, one hidden inside the very coins Romans trusted daily. Silently, they began shaving the silver from every denarius. A little less each year, so subtle that no citizen ever noticed the theft. Imagine trusting money that slowly turns to worthless metal in your hands. That was the invisible poison spreading through Rome's veins. The pure silver denarius that once defined an empire was becoming a lie. But why would rulers destroy their own foundation of power? The answer lies in desperation. Endless wars, restless armies, and bribes to be paid. The treasury bled faster than gold could refill it. Each debased coin bought silence for one more day. But the illusion couldn't last forever. Something dark was building beneath the surface. Merchants began to sense it first. Prices crept upward, slowly, quietly, like a tide no one could stop. And nobody understood the reason. What was once a fair trade now demanded more coins each day. The people whispered of curses, but the truth was far more terrifying. Money itself was dying, and no one could name the killer. The emperors kept minting, believing they controlled a force beyond their grasp. And so the trap was set, invisible yet devastating. Rome stood on the edge of a collapse it never saw coming. But how deep would it fall? By the 3rd century, the cracks were spreading fast. What began as small tricks with coins now threatened to swallow the entire empire. Emperors rose and fell like autumn leaves. In just 50 years, Rome saw dozens of rulers, each more desperate than the last. Each new emperor needed money, and fast. Armies demanded payment, and loyalty could be bought only with gleaming silver coins. But the treasury was empty. So the mints kept working, shaving away silver, pumping out coins that looked rich but felt hollow. The people noticed. Slowly, then suddenly, they lost faith in the coins jingling inside their worn leather purses. Merchants began raising prices overnight. A loaf of bread that cost a coin yesterday now demanded 2, then 3, then more. Something invisible was tightening its grip on Rome. A silent force nobody could see, yet everyone could feel. In their bones. Along the frontiers, barbarian tribes pressed harder. The empire needed more soldiers, more gold, more of everything it lacked. Trade routes wavered. Ships that once carried grain and wine now sailed with fewer goods, and the docks grew strangely quiet. The danger was rising, and Rome had no map for what came next. The worst, though nobody knew it yet, was still ahead of them. By now, the coin in your hand meant almost nothing. Merchants laughed at silver that was mostly copper, painted with a desperate silver shine. Prices doubled overnight, then doubled again. A loaf of bread that cost a coin at dawn could demand a whole purse by nightfall in the streets. Families who once lived comfortably now bartered heirlooms for grain. Gold rings, jewelry, memories all traded away just to survive one day. The wealthy hoarded real gold, burying it deep beneath their floors. They no longer trusted the emperor's promises or his worthless coins. In the markets, chaos erupted. Riots broke out over food, and soldiers, unpaid and furious, began turning their swords toward their own city. The emperor tried something drastic. He issued a decree freezing all prices, threatening death to anyone who dared to charge a single coin more. But you cannot command the market with fear alone. Merchants simply vanished, hiding their goods rather than selling them at a fatal loss. The shelves emptied. The decree meant to save Rome had instead starved it, driving trade underground into shadows where prices soared higher. Whole cities began abandoning money entirely. They returned to trading grain for cloth, oil for iron, as if coins had never been invented. The mighty empire, once built on the strength of its coin, now stood on the very edge of collapse. But how did anyone survive what came next? So here it is, the truth we've chased through the ruins. Rome's coins didn't just lose value, they quietly betrayed an entire empire. For centuries, emperors shaved silver from every coin, believing no one would notice. But the people always noticed, and they remembered. The denarius, once nearly pure silver, became a thin lie coated in metal. And with each debasement, trust bled from the empire's veins. Diocletian tried to freeze the chaos with laws, fixing prices under threat of death. Yet merchants vanished, and markets fell silent instead. You cannot command trust into existence. Rome learned this the hardest way, watching its own money become worthless paper before their eyes. This forgotten hyperinflation didn't roar like a battle. It crept in silently, decade by decade, until the world's greatest empire cracked. And here's the part that should make you uneasy. The same forces still exist today, hidden inside every currency you carry in your pocket. Governments still print, still borrow, still promise. The mechanisms wear new names, But the ancient temptation remains dangerously alive. Rome's fall wasn't only swords and barbarians. It was numbers, quietly betraying the people who believed their money would always be safe. So remember Rome, not as a distant ruin, but as a warning whispered across time. History doesn't repeat, but it always seems to rhyme.